2025. Wow, what a year. Fires in Los Angeles. Tariffs nationally, internationally. ICE raids or ICE work. Iran, Israel, Iran, US. So much going on. What is happening with our local Los Angeles market with all of these external factors? Well, if you're not sure or you're considering selling your home or in the market to purchase, you need to know what's going on. Stay tuned. I'm Corrie Sommers, your local real estate agent here in Los Angeles, and we are going to go over what's happening in our marketplace. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, take a moment to click the subscribe button and the bell for updates, and I'll be right back with information that will help you in making decisions when it comes to the state of your home or buying a home. Hi everyone, it's me, Corrie Sommers, your local Los Angeles realtor. There is so much that's been happening the first half of 2025. We've seen interest rates still hovering high, slightly dipping, slightly upticking, a little bit of yo-yos, but not the significant reductions we had hoped to see as of yet. Of course, the Fed is also stating that they would like to see interest rates drop at least 2 times before the end of the year, which would be approximately a quarter each. Will that happen? Will that not? Time will tell. But what is real and what we know that has happened so far this year are the fires that has just destroyed the Pacific Palisades in Altadena, the ICE activity here in Los Angeles, the tariffs and threats of tariffs that have been imposed around the world for our consumer goods, the constant crazy headlines regarding moves of our government, as well as social issues, the Diddy trials. I mean, there are people tuning into that. And that does affect some people's business. But then there's also Iran and the threat of war and the potential of World War III. How does all of this impact our real estate market here in Los Angeles? Well, no surprise, the biggest thing that has been occurring is properties are taking longer to sell. And for many homeowners, this is frustrating. And when we transition from a market where homes sell quickly, the first couple weeks to a month, it's kind of what the expectation is for everybody. And like I shared with one of my clients recently with facts, figures, and numbers, the slowing is real. We are transitioning. Now, we're not suddenly a buyer's market. There are some outlying areas in the county of Los Angeles that have become buyer's markets. But depending on which part of Los Angeles you are in, it's not yet a buyer's market. But let's talk for a second about what dictates a buyer's market. So a buyer's market is generally dictated by the number of homes available for sale versus the amount of buyers that are out there purchasing. And usually the number of homes available for sale exceed the amount of buyers out there. And so buyers tend to have really great choices, the ability to negotiate, and often get things that they wouldn't normally be able to achieve in other markets. The other significant identifier of a buyer's market is that the amount of homes for sale would generally take at least 6 months or longer in order to sell. We're not quite there yet. And if you've been watching my monthly market updates, you know I go over 5 key facts and figures for 7 parts of Los Angeles, but the San Fernando Valley and the LA Basin. But this time, if you stay to the very end, I want to tack on a couple of areas in the northern part of the San Fernando Valley and also bleeding into Ventura County, because we are seeing a vast differential. Now, that said, as I've shared before, we are also seeing price reductions increase. We'll go over those numbers today. New construction is continuing to stay on the market a little bit longer and with more price reductions. And also right now, most likely as a direct result of the ICE activity, we are seeing a slowing with new construction. Not because everybody working on new construction projects are illegal immigrants, but legal immigrants are also a little nervous and don't want to get scooped up in what's going on. So that's certainly impacting us right now. I don't want this video to be doom and gloom. That's not my message. Let's actually dive into numbers, okay? So in Los Angeles, as a total, the amount of properties that were available for sale, we are now entering the month of July, we're in July, so the total number of properties available for sale in the month of June was 65,958. Now, in the month of May, that number was 64,035. So in a month's time, only about 1,300 new homes came on the market for sale. And why this is significant, you might ask, is because back in March, we saw over 7,500 new homes come to market for sale. But ever since then, that has been trickling down. April was like around 2,000, May was around 2,000, now it's barely over 1,300. It's not moving in the direction we would expect to see us completely converge into a buyer's market. So we still have limited inventory here in Los Angeles. But with all the factors I just previously shared, buyers are taking longer to make decisions. Buyers are a little nervous. Interest rates certainly have a little bit of an impact, but what's going on in the general climate of the world platform and America right now is just making people take pause. So let's talk about those actual numbers. In Toluca Lake in the month of June, there were 29 homes available for sale. In Studio City, that was 176. In Sherman Oaks, jumped up to 275, and Encino 255. Now, normally we see Studio City jump from, Sherman Oaks jump in volume from Studio City, but we also see Encino usually a little bit higher, and so we're actually seeing Encino tipping down just a little bit. The average number of days it takes for a home to sell during the month of June in Toluca Lake was 31, in Studio City was 44, in Sherman Oaks was 29, and Encino was 32. Santa Monica was 36, Brentwood 44, and Beverly Hills 92. Now, that ratio, if you will, is a little bit normal, but do note it is taking a bit longer. And then when we look at the amount of homes that are actually under contract, the demand for property, in Toluca Lake it was 5, Studio City was 40, Sherman Oaks was 52, followed by Encino at 45, Santa Monica at 33, Brentwood at 28, and then Beverly Hills at 19. So one of the things that's important to get an overall picture of our market here in Los Angeles is to really see where we're at this year versus where we were at last year. So last year in the month of June in 2024, there was 55,069 homes available for sale. Versus this June of 2025, that was 65,958. So that is up about 19% from last year. In Toluca Lake, it was 31 homes available for sale in 2024, and then this 2025 in June, it was 29 homes. That's up 6%. Toluca Lake is a small pocket within Los Angeles, so these are not ever big numbers. Studio City in June of 2024 was 155 homes available for sale, and then June in 2025 it was 176. That was up about 13%. Followed by Encino. In June of 2024 it was 223 homes available for sale. This June 2025, it was 255, so that was up 20%. As we go over the hill into Santa Monica, in June of 2024 was 84 homes, June of 2025, 137, which is up 63%. That's actually a pretty big jump there, more than 50% increase in inventory. And Brentwood in 2024, in June, it was 130 versus this June, which was 213. That's another really big jump at 64%. So both Santa Monica and Brentwood had a surge much higher this June than last June. This is why going over specific pockets of the city are important, because it's not a blank slate across the board. In Beverly Hills in June of 2024, there were 122 homes available for sale, but in June of 2025, that only rose to 136, which is up 11.5%. One of the things that's always important to look at is price reductions. And this is important for a number of reasons. Price reductions can give us an indicator of where our market is headed, but also it tends to affect buyers, because when buyers are seeing price reductions, their feeling is they start to gain some confidence that maybe more price reductions are coming. And a lot of times buyers are starting to look at homes and say, oh, that's been on the market for 30 days. It's going to reduce in price soon. And then when it doesn't reduce, they're saying, well, why isn't it reducing? So there's this constant push and pull, if you will, when it comes to pricing. The pricing of homes is definitely both a combination of skill set, of research, and applying certain specific analysis to properties to determine a market value, but ultimately the price of a home is what a buyer is willing to pay. We just utilize the tools that we have available to take all that data and analyze each property. So let's dive into price reductions. The other thing to think about too is often sellers will come to market with what they're hoping to get for their property. Sometimes they do this based, in the case of new construction, they are looking for a certain premium, a certain return on their investment. In the case of some homeowners, it might be that they had their property appraised a year or 2 years ago, and so they kind of have a baseline of what they're expecting. And sometimes it's just what the buyer or the seller is looking for to move on to that next situation. Maybe you are looking to move out of state and you need a certain amount of money to purchase the next home and take care of this, or maybe you're putting some money into your business, or perhaps you're moving on to assisted living and you not only want to make sure you cover those costs, but perhaps you want to leave something to your heirs. So there's a number of reasons why home sellers come with, this is the number I want. As professionals, we are always trying to share with you our interpretation of the market so that you have those facts to work with, and then we work with you on achieving your goals. So when it comes to the price reductions, in the month of June of 2025 in Toluca Lake, there were 7 price reductions, which is 24% of inventory. Again, small amount of inventory, anything that happens has a big impact. In Studio City, there were 17 price reductions, which is only 9% of Studio City's inventory, followed by Sherman Oaks, which was 36 price reductions, which is 21% of Sherman Oaks' inventory. Then there was Encino, which was 42 price reductions for a total of 16% of Encino's inventory. Moving over into the west side at Santa Monica, there were 15 price reductions, which is only 11% of Santa Monica's inventory. In Brentwood, there were 14 price reductions for 6.5% of Brentwood's inventory, so not a lot of price reduction movement there. In Beverly Hills, there were 10 price reductions, which is only 7% of Beverly Hills inventory, same thing being true. Here's what's important to realize. Overall, throughout Los Angeles, there were 11,994 price reductions. Almost 12,000 properties had price adjustments downward. That was out of 65,958 properties, which is about 18% price reductions. That number is definitely high. Now, again, I have a bonus for you, but before I get into that, I just want to say this. If you've been waiting to buy, one of the things you need to understand is there are many buyers that are saying to themselves, I'm going to wait till next year. I'm going to wait for interest rates to drop. And like a conversation I had with a client of mine just a week ago, when you wait for the interest rates to drop and you wait for what everybody else is doing, you're not going to make out. When you move in the opposite of what everyone else is doing, you make out better. I think Warren Buffett said it best. He buys when everyone else is selling and he sells when everybody else is buying. Well, kind of similarity in real estate, but I guess a better way to put it is, if you purchase a home today, I'm just going to use some blanket numbers, for $1 million and your interest rate is 6.5% and you can handle the payment, you're locked in. If you wait 6 months, that $1 million home is now $1 million, I'll be super conservative, $1,035,000. And interest rates are a little bit less, so now you have some competition. And so maybe you end up in a multiple offer situation and that ticks up to $1,050,000. Well, while that interest rate might be a little less, your payment is essentially the same as if you purchased it now. Whereas if you purchased it now for the $1 million and the interest rate drops in 6 months, you're able to do what's called a streamlined refinance, which is a refinance with no fees to you and just a reduction of your interest rate. And now you're saving hundreds of dollars each month versus waiting for a lower interest rate, which is now at the same amount of what your payment would be today due to competition and the increase in equity. I digress. My reason for that, though, is just to share, if you are considering selling and you're worried about the market, number one, no, buyers are taking longer. Number two, really work with your real estate professional to position your property to show the best way it can show. That means clean, staged, deferred maintenance items addressed, cleaned up, prepped. Maybe it might mean a painting or redoing a couple of countertops, but really work with your professional to do all the items to prepare the house for its best foot forward. And when it comes to pricing, don't price based on, I don't know, the desire to recoup or the desire to net a certain amount. Price based on what's going to draw the most buyers, but still know this is a shifting market. It is not going to happen in 1 week, 2 weeks, or maybe even the first month, depending on where your home is. I did promise a bonus, so let's get into that. Selling real estate in Los Angeles, I have worked a number of areas. I've helped homeowners in Redondo Beach and Manhattan Beach, as far down to Orange County, even out in Big Bear, down into the edge of LA County, and a lot of times north. So often I've shown clients properties in Hidden Hills, Westlake Village, worked in Agora Hills, West Hills, Chatsworth, Northridge, etc. So while I don't normally touch on those areas, I do want to give you an understanding a little bit by touching on 4 parts of some of that area, just so that you see what's happening there too, because it speaks to what I'm saying. What's happening is not a broad brushstroke across the city. Every pocket is a little different. So the total number of homes for sale in West Hills is 158 in the month of June. In Chatsworth, it was 127. In Hidden Hills, it was 42. And in Westlake Village, it was 173. But let's talk how long it's taking for homes to go on the market in those areas. On average, West Hills is 51 days. That's almost 3 months. Chatsworth, 62 days. Hidden Hills, 124 days. And Westlake Village, 66 days. So those things are important to note. But when we talk about price reductions in these areas, West Hills, for the month of June had 31 price reductions, which was 20% of inventory. Chatsworth had 36 price reductions, which is 28% of inventory. But Hidden Hills only had 6 price reductions, which is 15% of their inventory. And then Westlake Village had 26 price reductions for a total of 15% of inventory. So again, it's somewhat following suit, but in these more outlying areas, for various reasons, you are seeing homes taking longer to sell. Hidden Hills takes fairly long, but Chatsworth is taking a long time. Hidden Hills is taking a long time. Westlake Village is taking a long time comparatively to where it was at 2 years ago. The last property I was selling in Westlake Village sold in 1 week. That was 2 years ago, okay? Now Westlake Village on average is taking over 2 months. So we're definitely seeing a slowing, but I don't want this to discourage you. If you are someone that knows you need to sell, for whatever the reason is, you're leaving California, your business is shifting and you're moving your company elsewhere, or perhaps you are only here to work and you don't need to be here 100% of the time, so you're looking for better spend on your income, we definitely should talk. And again, I say we should talk. You should talk to your real estate professional. If you don't have one, I'm happy to have a consultation and see if I am the right person for the job. My contact information is below, so please feel free to reach out. You can always call, email, text, or there's also a link to get on my calendar. I hope all of this information has been really helpful to help you see what's going on in the market. Again, as I said in the beginning, sometimes people, sellers and buyers, are getting nervous. Buyers are taking longer to pull the trigger, and the slowness of the market right now is making some sellers really antsy. So biggest thing is to pick someone that you trust, that you know has a track record for getting the job done, and just work with them and stick it out. Of course, I do want to say this. If you have a home for sale and it's not moving, your agent should be able to provide to you the facts and figures of what's happening in that market. It doesn't matter if your home is in Newport Beach, if your home is in Santa Monica, if your home is in Hancock Park, if your home is in Los Feliz, West Hills, Agora Hills, your agent should be able to provide you that information. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you again soon.